Plenty to discuss on today's podcast as we welcome you into episode number 5 of the Diamond Discussions podcast. Ethan Carter alongside John Carter here with you as per usual. And as mentioned on Twitter, if you don't follow us, you might want to get connected with the community at Podcast Diamond on the Twitter. A lot of updates there. That's where we post the links when the podcast goes live to all the various platforms such as Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, and iTunes. We plan on having some guest appearances throughout the offseason. That's the time when you want to get the guests in during the season. Or during the offseason. What? But a lot of topics of discussion. Action-packed show. Probably our biggest topic-filled podcast we've done. Let's get into the news. The new A's ballpark could go down in 2023. It appears at the Howard Terminal. I'm not sure where that's located, but they did post some pictures on Twitter of potential plans for that stadium. It should be pretty cool what they do with that. Ronald Torreyes heading to the Cubs in a deal between the Yankees and the Cubs. The MLB partnered with MGM, a gambling deal. What are you doing? Chisenhall to the Pirates, Chavez to the Rangers, and more to the Tigers all happened throughout this week, basically. But that's all for the news. Now it's time to get into the beautiful thing that we call contracts for semi-large free agents. And that is Josh Donaldson, probably the best third baseman on the market. He's headed to Atlanta on a one-year, $23 million deal. The Cardinals also made a quote-unquote competitive offer for him. Your thoughts on Donaldson's fit in Atlanta?
Yeah, I think it's a good fit. Of course, they needed a third baseman first and foremost, and somebody to bat behind Freddie Freeman because they, didn't really have a consistent cleanup hitter. But he's got some ties to the front office guy who was with the Blue Jays, and I think he's from the South. So it should be a pretty good fit to a contending ball club.
Speaking of contending ball clubs, Brian McCann jumps from Houston, the 2017 World Series champs, back to Atlanta, where he spent most of the years of his career. That was something on your laptop, clearly, folks. He signs a one-year, $2 million deal with the Braves, and he's headed back to Atlanta. Like I just said, your noise messed me up. But you think he's going to platoon, start? What could we see with Brian McCann?
Yeah, I think he's going to platoon. Good veteran presence, as is Donaldson, because there's a lot of young guys on the Brewers team and in the farm system.
The Brewers team or the Braves?
The Braves, sorry. He's going to platoon probably, good lefty-righty catcher combination. Tyler Flowers, he's solid. He's not like a overwhelmingly solid catcher. But, a lot of good young arms coming up within the next few years. I don't know how many, a one-year deal. So he could be back, next season as well, 2020.
If he decides to play.
But, it's a solid move.
And with this, they're signing two guys to one-year deals. They still have money to do some things. So we'll see what the Braves end up doing over the course of the next few weeks. Let's move right along here. Patrick Corbin met with the Phillies, Yankees, and Nationals. Both Philadelphia and New York are presumed to be the highest bidders for him. I predicted during our free agent predictions that Corbin would end up in New York. It appeared that way, but the Paxton trade kind of shifts this a little bit. I think the Phillies, what I saw, a lot of people projecting the Phillies do is you sign Patrick Corbin, then you try to get either Harper or Machado, which a lot of people think that that's going to happen, and then you bring in possibly another starter around those guys, pitcher or bullpen arm or closer. Could be something they could be interested in, so maybe Miller or Kimbrel. But like the Phillies said, they have a lot of money, and they might be a little bit quote-unquote stupid with it. So where do you think Corbin eventually ends up? Because I'm still saying the Yankees, but I think the Phillies could be big-time players for him.
I do think that the Yankees would outbid the Phillies. Maybe, if the Phillies really want to go after Machado or Harper. But the Phillies, they got Nola as an ace. They still have Arrieta. They've got Pavetta, some younger guys. They still need an arm to try to bolster that rotation. Definitely a lefty, but I still think he probably ends up with the Yankees. But who knows? We've been wrong before.
Well, I would assume that the asking price for the Indians starting pitchers would be really high, and I'd imagine they prefer to trade one of their guys to the NL rather than the Yankees. But anyway, I think Corbin definitely. I think he ends up in New York. We'll see what happens, though. Moving right along, Seager and Fowler, Kyle Seager, Dexter Fowler. I saw an article from Mark Feinsand, MLB.com. He said that potentially we could see something that could be along the lines of a Fowler-Seager swap because the Cardinals would move the salary of Dexter Fowler, get rid of him, change of scenery, could probably work better for him. You bring in Seager for a year or two as a corner infielder that you're needing for probably it's a lower price than what you'd be paying for Goldschmidt, and then you really make a run at Harper. That would set that up perfectly. I don't think I see it happening. I don't know if I'd want it to happen. The only reason I'd want it to happen is because you're moving Dexter Fowler's contract so you can make a run at Bryce Harper, and then you're probably going to lose Marcell Ozuna after 2019. You shift Tyler O'Neill over to left field. So you have O'Neill, Bader, Harper, one of the most elite outfields that would be in the majors. But what do you think about this whole idea of a Seager-Fowler swap for Seattle, St. Louis?
Well, it would fit two needs for the Cardinals. Lefty bat, third base. It would give more depth to the Mariners. If it happens, it happens, it would work out for the Cardinals, so to speak.
It would work out in them wanting to make a run at Harper.
Yes.
Certainly.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to get to the poll questions. This is the time of the show. I kind of forgot to post them last week, so I just posted 2, and I didn't get very many votes. But number 1, who would you rather see your YOUR in capital letters your team sign? Bryce Harper or Manny Machado? 100% of the votes said Bryce Harper. What do you think? It depends on who your team is, but if we're Cardinal fans, I think we'd rather see Harper.
Bryce Harper brings that level of excitement, power, He's got a big personality, but also so does Manny Machado. And I think that some people, I don't know if it's because, of his attitude and his comments or the way he was in the playoffs with the whole trying to step on Aguilar and pierce his foot. But I still think how many votes were there?
3.
Well,
I didn't vote.
It would probably be more even if he had a bigger sample size.
Well, this next one had 2 votes.
I personally would rather have Harper just for the Cardinals, lefty bat, power bat,
Okay, the next question, poll question number 2, by the way. This is the second poll question and final poll question of the episode. Which team do you think has the best offseason? Yankees, Dodgers, Phillies, or other? Comment. No one commented other. One person voted Dodgers, one person voted Phillies. I voted Phillies, by the way. So I was trying to get the ball rolling.
I think the Yankees, they usually end up having the best off seasons, but the Phillies, with the money and what they...
Did you vote Dodgers? That would be great.
No, I forgot to look, but I'd probably vote Yankees. But the Phillies, they could come in and
speculation,
steal the goods or steal the treasure.
Early rumors and speculation say the Phillies and Yankees are just going to really go wild, but we'll see what happens.
Wild with their money.
Yeah. So, as we move right along to more rumors and speculation, so to speak, reports come out that the Indians would preferably...
Yeah, that...
Thank you. The Indians would prefer to trade Trevor Bauer over guys like Kluber and Carrasco. I don't think they would be able to move Kluber as easily as people think because the asking price was probably super high. That's why not that many people.
See, I haven't really looked into this much, but it kind of confuses me. I understand that Kluber's a little older; he's 32, right? Why would they want to trade any of those guys? Are top starters, 1, 2, 3 right on the line. But why the Indians have been competitive? I don't know why
That's
they would.
not enough. Why settle for being competitive when you have Houston, New York?
What would they try
Boston
to get?
around
Another
you?
starter?
I don't know their offseason plans.
Just doesn't compute. Okay,
Well, I just say that being competitive is not
doesn't
enough
make
for them.
sense.
Same way you feel about the Cardinals being competitive
The Cardinal?
around Atlanta and Colorado, LA, Chicago, Milwaukee.
We'll see. Trevor Bauer's like 26, isn't
Yeah,
he?
he would have a pretty big price tag, I think. I don't know if they're gonna even be able to move him, but I'd imagine they'd move him to like Colorado or something if the Rockies want to pay for it. Somewhere in the NL is where I would presume. I mean, if Philly strikes out on Corbin, maybe. I mean, they could give up maybe J.P. Crawford, move him to Cleveland, and you bring in Machado at short. You could do something like that, but we'll see. And moving into another starting pitcher who could be on the market is Madison Bumgarner. Remember, the Giants hired Farhan Zaidi from the Dodgers, the president of baseball operations. He could have a different plan in place. A lot of people speculated that the Giants would want to go out and spend money on Bryce Harper. I don't think that's industry speculation at this moment. Instead, they could be selling one of their top starters. And people forget Bumgarner's, 27, 28 years old. So,
Is he still that young?
yeah, he's not very old at all. He's accomplished a lot. That's why people don't really understand that. He's owed $12 million next season, and then he's a free agent after that. So it'll be a 6th year, probably 27, 28. He'll probably be 28 when he hits free agency. But potential fits for Bumgarner. What do you see?
I mean, he could probably fit on about any team. Left-hander,
I think the Yankees
track
stick out
record.
the most.
Yeah. Oh, the Yankees, I mean,
it's reversed. If the Yankees lose it on Corbin, you go for Bumgarner.
I mean, I guess teams that need a starting pitcher right now, Brewers maybe, Phillies, Yankees, yeah.
The question for the Yankees is, though, they gave up Justice Sheffield. Would they be willing to move another big prospect for Bumgarner? Because that's what it would. I think it would require Clint Frazier.
Well, and then after contract, Bumgarner would probably want a lot of money.
I don't think the Yankees would sign or trade for him to plan on keeping him. I'm not sure. I mean, then comes the point: do you want to trade for Paxton and Bumgarner, and do you want to both have them hit free agency right after? So you kind of traded for.
Excuse me. I could see Bumgarner being traded like mid-season to like the Yankees or a team that wants to push.
I think that's going to happen
postseason.
for a lot of guys. I could see that,
Because I mean, working out a trade for Bumgarner that would take quite a while.
Though he
have to
doesn't
be
have much-
overwhelming return.
It would, but though he doesn't have much control, so to speak, I would still assume he's a much more movable piece than Zach Greinke is for Arizona.
Yeah,
Because I think
with
a
that
team would
contract,
be much more willing to throw $12 million for Bumgarner for next year instead
lot
of
younger.
30 plus for Greinke, who's 34, 35. So I just think that the Giants, if they're not going to move him now, I think you brought up a good point. Bring him through the first half of the season. Bank on him staying healthy and having a good first half. You get a nice return for him. The return might be a little less mid-season, but I mean, you get something for him because I don't know if he's going to want to re-sign with the Giants. I don't know the type of player he is. He might want to get another ring. So who knows what happens? We'll see. We'll keep our eyes all over the Bumgarner front. But let's get some more updates on the Goldschmidt and Greinke front, so to speak, in Arizona. And I don't completely understand why Arizona's selling, but I do understand it in the regard of you're probably not going to get A.J. Pollock back. That's a big piece, so we'll see what they do. But apparently the Cardinals were throwing around the idea of trading for both of them, but then Zach Greinke, God knows why, has a 15-team no-trade clause, and the Cardinals were on that. I'd love to see who all is on that, but if the Cardinals had a shot or could bring in both Goldschmidt and Greinke, what would your thoughts be? Because I would not like it. I'd rather just have Goldschmidt. I don't want Greinke anywhere near this ball club, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, man. I mean, he hasn't been. He started picking up the last couple seasons. He had a couple of rough years. He's 34. What now? That big contract. I mean, I wouldn't see the Cardinals even doing that. But if they would, or if they did, I don't think a lot of people would like that because
that might hurt their offseason.
It's not like he is lights out like he once was. Not as consistent. But yeah, I would rather them just work out something for Goldschmidt.
I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest, but we'll see.
I mean, with Matt Carpenter's versatility, though, you could, even if it's not Goldschmidt, you could get try and get a guy like Machado or Moustakas, or, you could go with shortstop third or first. And
people saying, John Heyman said the Cardinals have Moustakas on their radar, and I follow a lot of Cardinal fans, obviously, and Cardinal writers and stuff. Everyone just went ballistic. I don't think that St. Louis wants that, but if you can get Moustakas after signing Harper, they love it. But it really feels like it's opening up to where the Cardinals should make a run at Harper, because you lose out on Donaldson. There's speculation that you probably won't be able to pull off a Goldschmidt trade. Your fans absolutely do not want Mike Moustakas as your big bat of the offseason. If you're St. Louis, if you're Mozeliak and Dersh, you have to make a run.
Yeah, there was news that the talks were intensifying between Arizona and St. Louis. Yeah, I mean, Arizona, it seemed like they were in first place for a little while. It seemed like they were heating up and things were working out. They wanted to get up and do a little dance or something like that. And now it seems like they need to rebuild. So I think he gets moved, though. And possibly Greinke gets shipped off to another team. Move some salary.
I just don't know who's going to want to take on the Green. If the Yankees, if worse comes to worse for the Yankees, I guess if they lose out on everybody, they
Sonny
can get
Gray
Greinke.
And get Greinke.
Yeah, move Gray to Arizona. That might actually work because he needs to. I think they should
for
trade
a start.
Oakland. I think Oakland should try for Sonny Gray, but go back there anyway.
Did you see the pictures of that stadium?
I did, yeah.
Because it looks kind of open, kind of Coors or Anaheim, Angel Stadium esque. But
better than they got now.
It looks like, I mean, Oakland. I think they deserve a nice stadium.
They're gonna lose the Raiders. I mean, they suck, but yeah.
But I mean, they're gonna be good for a few years. Some young guys.
Bring back Sonny Gray. Anyway, moving right along, here we go.
We're like, bring back Josh Donaldson, right?
Not going to happen. If the Phillies lose out on Patrick Corbin, could they trade for Madison Bumgarner? So my stance on this is that if whoever loses out on Corbin between the Phillies and the Yankees, if he goes to one of those teams, that other team could call the Giants and check in on Mad Bum's status. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the Phillies definitely and Yankees definitely have like the amount of prospects that they'd be willing to part with, but they both do have the money, so it does make sense that if one team gets Corbin and the other one loses out, that the team that loses out would want to try and trade for Bumgarner. So I mean, it would make sense for both teams. Vice versa. If the Phillies get Corbin, then the Yankees could maybe try and work out a trade for Mad Bum, but there's some continuity there, so definitely intriguing.
Yeah, Corbin's going to be a big market mover.
Because what Corbin's
starting pitching.
Corbin and Bumgarner are around the same age, right?
I think Corbin's 27, 28.
Corbin's 29.
Okay, I think Mad Bum's younger.
Bumgarner's 29.
Really?
I just looked it up. They're both 29.
I don't believe that. I swear, 2 years ago, Bumgarner was 25.
I think you're mistaken. Corbin in July of next year will turn 30. And Bumgarner.
There's no young pitching on
August 1st of.
How old's Nathan Eovaldi?
Eovaldi's like 31 or something. 28. He's 28.
That's the youngest. Like all the pitchers on the market are just so old.
Well, for Eovaldi,
Not old,
he
but
was up and comer on the Rays, and then he got hurt, and then like you kind of forgot about him, and then it seems like he's older. But
didn't the Yankees trade him to Tampa or something? He was on the Yankees.
oh, yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
What? I don't even know what just happened. Anyway.
But I think that Eovaldi would make sense. I mean, he would make sense on like the Red Sox,
he went from the
Yankees.
Rays to the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Whatever. Who cares? Someone in the comments. Whatever. That was our next topic. Nathan Eovaldi to the Astros? ? Astros have reported interest in Nathan Eovaldi. I think that would make perfect sense. By the way, let's.
He was drafted by the Dodgers.
It doesn't matter.
And then he got traded to the Marlins, and he got traded to the Yankees, and he got traded to the Rays, and he got traded to the Red Sox.
Told you. Okay.
And the teams probably just weren't. They weren't
Where's
all.
he from?
They weren't all all about his injury-prone arm. But he did quite marvelous in the playoffs. He is from Houston.
That was my point here with the Astros. I think this is a real possibility.
Could be a homecoming, huh?
And I think Eovaldi fits perfectly in the rotation if you don't plan on bringing back Morton or
Well,
Keuchel.
McCullers is going to be out, right?
That's what I was going to bring up. You stole it right out of my mouth.
So you got Verlander, Cole, Keuchel if he signs.
I don't think you bring back Keuchel. I think you bring back Morton and Eovaldi. I forgot his name for some reason.
The Astros could be another team that could be looking at lefty free agents as well.
Do they have 3 pitching spots open? Morton, Keuchel, and then now McCullers? I think they have 3 open for next year.
Well, 2 if you count Morton. Cole, Verlander, Morton.
Well, Morton's a free agent.
Well, I assume he'll get re-signed, but if not.
You don't know.
Yeah, so
What
Verlander
if he
and
goes
Cole.
back to the Phillies? You never know.
With Pirates.
Here's my point.
He's been a good fit in
You bring
Houston.
back Morton. You bring Eovaldi in. You try to bring back Keuchel. If you can get Keuchel for a reasonable price, which I think he would take, I also think the Yankees could be a player for Keuchel potentially. We'll see.
I mean, if he can get back to his Cy Young form.
It doesn't even matter. You got to be decent. You got Verlander and Cole in front of you. You don't have to get back
Let's
to
make it
your
even
Cy Young.
better.
They would have a really strong rotation with Verlander and Cole at the top. In the middle, you have Eovaldi, then you have Keuchel and Morton. At the bottom, I think Keuchel's a 3, a good 3 starter. But I would probably say Eovaldi would be the 3. Morton's a great guy to have at a 4 or a 5. And then Verlander and Cole are bona fide aces. The rotation would be great, and I also think that if you're the Astros, why don't you go out, really just go nuts with it and trade for Paul Goldschmidt? You're going to have, and you know what? While you're at it, trade for JT Realmuto as well. The Astros, you have Realmuto behind the plate. You have Goldschmidt at first, Altuve at second, Correa at short, Bregman at third. You got the best infield in the game, probably the best overall rotation. The Astros are winning the 2019 World Series, folks. Just so you know, what are your thoughts on my Astros mega plan? You got Springer in the outfield too, but hey, Josh Reddick, go ahead.
Left field.
You bring back Marwin Gonzalez as well. You probably won't happen, but
Could DH Gurriel.
I heard Gurriel was going to
Gaddis.
take over the Gonzalez role because they don't plan on bringing Marwin back, so he could play left probably.
They've bolstered their bullpen some. Roberto Osuna. I mean, Hector Rondon is just more of like a middle innings eater, but
Bring back Ken Giles while you're at it. He's terrible.
I mean, those are some valid points.
I don't think they'd be able to
Swing
trade
it.
for Goldschmidt and Realmuto if they don't want to move Forrest Whitley, who's like a big pitching prospect for them. They refused to
Derek Fisher.
move him. What deal was that? What deal just happened that the Astros?
Tyler White. What?
The deal that just happened that the Astros missed out on. The Paxton. They didn't want to move Forrest Whitley. That's why they lost out on Paxton. So if they don't want to move him, they're not going to get Goldschmidt and Realmuto. But one can dream if you're an Astros fan, which I'm not, but I'm just saying. Moving right along to the New York Mets, we haven't talked about them on the podcast at all, I don't think. They're reportedly aggressive in pursuit of Robinson Cano, and what I put on here is Dan O'Dowd's, quote, laughable Mets Mariners trade proposal. I think if you're a Mariners fan, you're like, yeah, this is stupid. But this is the Mets get Robinson Cano, Edwin Diaz, the best closer in baseball last year, mind you, and he's like under 25. Malik Smith, who's apparently in every single trade ever because he's been traded like 31 times. Okay. Then the Mariners get Dominic Smith, who was one of the big prospects for the Mets a few years ago. I believe he was in the same kind of time frame as Ahmed Rosario. Jay Bruce, who's still a pretty good major league player. You get Andres Jimenez.
Probably Jimenez.
Why did I not think of that? He's the number one shortstop, or he's the number one Mets prospect. He's number 7 at his position overall. He's number 55 in baseball. That's not a great number 1 prospect. Then you get Justin Dunn, who's number 89 overall, and he's number 4 in the Mets system. You're telling me the only thing you're going to be able to swing is a top 55 and a top 89 prospect for Edwin Diaz and Robinson Cano? I mean, you're going to give up some value of what you're going to get back for Cano with his contract, but what goes through someone's head? I mean, okay, let me say this. O'Dowd's a former GM. He knows his stuff. This is all obviously conjecture. It's not going to happen. I don't think there's a chance. But I'm not
it's a hot take.
I'm not trying to kill him here. I'm not trying to rip him. But I'm just saying this is pretty bad stuff. And if you're the Mariners, you respectfully hang up the phone, correct?
Yeah, I mean, any kind of deal.
I don't even know if you do it respectfully. I think you slam the phone. Go ahead.
I mean, any kind of deal that has Edwin Diaz. I mean, you're looking at like top player,
three of your
like
best.
Ahmed Rosario is going to be in there.
No, Ahmed Rosario would not be in there. He's not even a prospect anymore. The Mets. I hate to, he wouldn't be in there.
That's why it is. It wouldn't be realistic anyway.
You're moving 3 of your best 5, and in this case, they're moving 2 of their best 5, which one of them is number 4, and neither of them are even top 50. I don't think the Mets have a strong enough farm system to get Edwin Diaz. They could get Cano. I think that's realistic. I think they could end up with Cano by the next podcast we record.
I mean, they're gonna have to make some moves. They got a new GM, right?
He's a former agent turned GM.
DeGrom's agent.
I think.
That's weird.
He's not trading DeGrom.
But they could be trading Syndergaard.
That was something we were going to get to here momentarily. Let me see. Is DeGrom's agent?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not getting traded. Anyway, Syndergaard rumors. The Brewers and the Rockies are reportedly interested. We talked about the Padres last week being interested in Syndergaard. He would be a great fit there. I think he would fit great in Colorado, and the Brewers, he would fit there as well. They both need starting pitching. The Reds are reportedly out of pursuit for Syndergaard. I doubt they want to move their big pieces. I doubt they want to move Eugenio Suarez, those types of players. So the Rockies and the Brewers in, Reds out, Padres still in as well for pursuit of Noah Syndergaard. Where do you think overall, if Syndergaard is moved, where do you think he ends up?
I mean, the Brewers would make the most sense, so to speak. I think.
To disagree a little bit there. I think the Rockies.
Well,
or the Padres.
That makes sense too. But the Rockies, they don't have a bad rotation. I mean, the Brewers, they got some help from Wade Miley,
Gio
Gonzalez, yeah, but they still need that number 1 guy. Like Jimmy Nelson was that. He was hurt last year.
He'll be back.
He'll be back, but who knows if he's going to be as good as he was.
The Rockies need someone next to Kyle Freeland. That would be.
Yeah, but they got.
And Marquez.
They got a number 1 and a close number 2. And the Brewers have been kind of relying on different guys, and nothing really consistent in the rotation.
Brewers have enough to give up?
I mean, that's where it kind of shifts.
The Rockies do.
That's kind of where it shifts to the Rockies or the Padres because of the amount of talent in their farm system that they could potentially part with.
If the Rockies really want to go nuts with it, you move Brendan Rodgers, but I don't think that's going to happen because he's a shortstop. You have Trevor Story there, but Story isn't particularly young for how long he's been in the league. He's been in the league 3 years? He's like 28, so. I don't think you move Brendan Rodgers in this case.
I've got,
but you still have other prospects behind him.
Is it Garrett Sampson? Hampson? Sorry, I got him.
He's an infielder that you could pair with Rosario in New York.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of speculation, but, I mean, the Mets, they do need to obviously draft well, and if they want to kind of speed up their retooling or rebuild or whatever, they need to get some return from a player.
Can someone go back and watch every episode and tell me how many times he said retooling? It's got to be like 15. Anyway.
Moving right along,
folks. Ranking the top potential destination for Machado and Harper. Get used to it, folks. We're going to talk about Machado and Harper every single podcast episode until they're signed and beyond. We'll probably talk about them a lot in the 2019 ones as well. But anyway, we'll start out with Machado. My potential destinations in order for Machado are number 1, the Philadelphia Phillies. Number 2, the New York Yankees. Number 3, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Number 4, the St. Louis Cardinals. Number 5, the Chicago Cubs. Number 6, the Chicago White Sox.
I mean, I guess I kind of wrote mine down with like a kind of an idea of who was the most like relevant, or it wasn't really an order, but that's how I had it. So, but yeah, of course, Phillies and Yankees. I mean, there's been talk about the Yankees not pursuing Machado or Harper, and there's been talks about like, oh, this makes so much sense. Why Bryce Harper needs to be in pinstripes, or why Machado needs to be on the Yankees.
Okay, you really okay? I read before we came on.
It's just half the stories are about the
Rosenthal.
Yankees on these.
Well, you know what? They have a lot of money and they like to make rumors. And specifically, I'm calling you out, Yankee fans. The fan base loves to just. We are going to get everybody. We are interested in everybody, no matter whether we have a fit or not. And that's where Harper comes into play. Ken Rosenthal said the Yankees are quote-unquote lukewarm. Who the hell uses that word for one? On Harper because they're only opening his first base. And if I'm Bryce Harper, I mean, do I really... I guess I'd love to go to the Yankees because they're good and they have a lot of money. But do I want to play first base? I mean, he might. I don't know. I'd like to know. Maybe we get him to reveal his decision on this podcast. But we'll see. That was okay. But anyway, before we get way too far into Yankee ranting, let's move over to Harper, shall we?
But Harper, I mean, a lot of the similar teams with a couple maybe extras.
All right, Harper potential destinations in order: Phillies and Yankees 1 and 2 again. Chicago Cubs 3, Atlanta Braves 4, St. Louis Cardinals 5, Los Angeles Dodgers 5, St. Louis Cardinals 6, Chicago White Sox 7.
You know, I don't believe that. I don't think that the Cubs or the Dodgers make more sense than the St. Louis Cardinals with...
It's not that they make more sense. It's that I think, like I said, Harper was going to St. Louis. I am very far away from that now.
But do you think that the Dodgers are going to offer that much money with...
Yes.
They're close to the luxury tax.
Doesn't
the Cubs have those big contracts. They're probably going to be close to the luxury tax if they offer.
You know what you sound like right now? You sound like you're really trying to convince yourself that he's not going to go to your 2 least favorite teams in the NL.
No, I'm just saying, like, they have a lot of their contracts are already set in stone, where the Cardinals, they have some set in stone,
okay,
but it's not like a lot of money, you know.
Okay, I'll raise you something here. Let's talk about the front offices. I'm pretty sure they take more chances than the Cardinals do. Let's be honest.
Well, maybe they're thinking of something different.
I mean, there's really no proof of anything, of anyone being interested in anybody except for the Phillies and the Yankees at this point. The entire offseason, I'll say this, probably about 88% of the stories of free agency have been Phillies or Yankees related. So, you know what? I don't really get that. The MLB Network Rewind or whatever said that the Cardinals are in talks with Mike Moustakas. I'm never doing this podcast again if he goes to St. Louis. I'm just saying that right now for the record. But they probably wouldn't have to give him too much money, so that might open up stuff for Harper potentially. But if Mozeliak doesn't bring in Harper, we're going to have some beef. Anyway.
I mean, imagine Harper and Bader and O'Neill. Well, I guess Ozuna, Harper, Bader wearing those powder blue uniforms. Set in stone.
Okay. Last topic of the podcast. If you're listening, make sure before you hear this, you've enjoyed it a lot so far. So follow us at Podcast Diamond on Twitter. Follow me at EDCFilms99 on Twitter. And follow Jay here, John. Follow him at the John Carter on Twitter. Anyway, and make sure to like and subscribe on all the platforms that the podcast goes on. Anyway, last topic.
All right, have a good night, folks.
Okay, nice. Which reliever do you believe gets the most money? Rank the top 3 relievers from 1, 2, and 3. The top one gets the most money, second gets the second most, third gets the third most. What do you got? Unless you want me to go first.
Oh, man.
Thanks for yawning 25 times.
I think that, I think that Craig Kimbrell, I think, gets the most.
I hope everyone can tell that he's completely unprepared for this. So,
I would have to say that Andrew Miller gets 2.
yeah, I have Kimbrel, Miller, and Britton. Do you
And
need a
Britton gets
reference?
3.
My God, that was you got worse and worse in like the last 10 minutes.
We've seen the market for relievers go up since Chapman was a free agent.
Well, just know that Kimbrel's agent is pushing that he's the best reliever of all time. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully there's more
Press
signings
tell me otherwise.
and more things that go on coming into episode 6. We might have a guest. You never know. We will announce it beforehand. So thank you, everybody, for tuning into episode 5, and we will see you all next week for episode 6. Make sure to like and subscribe on all the platforms. Follow us on Twitter. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you later.